All right. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Just to repeat, since I know a couple people joined, I do agency recruiting, and then I've also in the past done corporate recruiting. My focus right now is finance and accounting, but happy to answer any and all questions that you have when it comes to your job search or like behind the scenes of a recruiter, literally anything. Why don't you guys drop where you're from, what industry you're in. Christopher's in tech in Chicago. I'm just outside of Chicago. Let's see. It's kind of a crazy time to be looking for a job, isn't it? Since a couple more people joined, you can ask a question in the question box, and you can also ask anonymously if you choose to do that. Amy from New Jersey, work in retail. I used to work in retail. I used to work for Target. Nice to meet you, Amy. What kind of job are you looking for right now? Hi from Boston. No gray hair permitted. No gray hair permitted in tech unless you're a billionaire, Christopher. I feel like bald is like the tech thing. I remember talking about that last time, though. Nice to meet you. Looking for roles working on data. Sounds interesting, Amy. What type of data are you looking at? Like, is it in relation to retail or just completely switching gears? Christopher, how's your search going in tech? Are you getting any interviews? It's a tough market right now. Are you just applying or are you doing other things to try and get through the back door? Zayad, retail banking, looking to pivot back to office. Yes, normal office hours are always nice. What types of jobs are you applying for? Any questions that I can help with? Amy, open to retail or anything else? Building reports or dashboards using applications. That sounds really fun, actually. Do you have any suggestions for getting the attention of recruiters at companies we might be interested in? Since you're pivoting a little bit, I would highlight the experience that you have that is in relation to the job that you're applying for. I know like JT is very against resumes, but I also know to apply to some jobs, you need to have a resume. I would have the keywords match up with the job. Have it be applicable to your experience, of course, like don't lie. But then also, I would just reach out to the hiring managers. Sometimes it's posted in the LinkedIn job posting. Other times, if you go to the company, you can usually kind of figure out who it is and pitch yourself to that company. Eugene from California, looking for opportunities outside of the US. project management, tech construction, any resource recommendations available on the Work It Daily platform for that. Are you looking for like remote work outside of the US? Or are you looking to relocate somewhere? Healthcare quality and operations from Houston. Christopher, video posting every day. Just pitched my video series on online scams to live with Kelly and Mark. That's awesome. I would love to hear if you hear back from Kelly and Mark. That would be a great opportunity to get your name out there. Keep video posting. I would share your videos. If you see somebody posting a job that you're interested in, share a video that's applicable with that hiring manager. I think that's a really great way to kind of like get in the back door. See a few more people join, so feel free to type questions in the live Q&A. Otherwise, you can ask anonymously if you choose to do that. Otherwise, just join the chat. Yeah, one thing that JT teaches that I think is very important, especially because job boards are kind of dead. One thing that I think is a really great workaround is to find jobs that your background matches with, do a couple videos on them, and then share those videos with the hiring manager. Because then you're kind of answering their interview questions before they even ask you to interview. All right. Do you have any advice on how to approach people on LinkedIn? I post on my page, but I'm not sure if it's confidence, but I hesitate to reach out. Do you have a prompt or any tips? Kind of actually in line with what I just said, I would, especially if you have positions that you are targeting, I would go through those and create short videos about your experience that's applicable to those jobs. You can use ChatGPT to help, so that you kind of can frame your video. And then when you reach out to the hiring managers on LinkedIn, you can share those videos so you can showcase your experience. You're a real live person. You're not just a piece of paper. The problem with resumes is when we post, like as a recruiter, as when I post jobs on LinkedIn, for example, I'll get hundreds of applicants, and I can't remember the exact percentage, but most of them are bots. And it's really hard to decipher who's a real human. So if you have videos that you can share with the hiring manager that respond to like the qualifications for the job that's posted, it shows that you're a real person. It shows your personality. They have a face. I think it's a way better way to apply to jobs. And I would you say it might be confidence, you hesitate to reach out, just reach out. The worst they can say is no. As someone on the other side of it, I've never had somebody reach out to me and me feel like they shouldn't have. It's, you know, it's just our job is to see the messages and respond as needed. They may not respond. I can't promise that everybody will respond, but don't worry. It's not, it shouldn't be embarrassing because on our end, it's just part of the job. What can you do to avoid being ghosted? Are you being ghosted when you are interviewing, or are you being ghosted like you're applying and not hearing back? Anything, any like specific example you can give? One way that, while you're typing that, one way to not get ghosted is to just constantly follow up. One thing that I do, especially if I have like a company that I'm recruiting for that is not great at giving me feedback or kind of ignores my messages is I asked to set up a weekly call. Now it's a little bit different when you're a job seeker, but if you're working with a recruiter in your field, you can always ask to set up like a weekly or biweekly call just to touch base and stay front of mind for them. If you are applying to a job and don't hear back, it's hard to get back to everybody, especially because there's so many bot applications. But if you're like in the interview process, I would just continue to follow up in different ways. So you can call, you can, if you have their cell phone number, you can text them, email, reach out on LinkedIn, just trying all the different ways of communication because everybody has their own preferred method of communication. So from recruiters after they've contacted me and from hiring managers as well. So yeah, if they're like an agency recruiter, you can suggest just a weekly touch base. It doesn't even have to be like a 15-minute call, like just a 5-minute, like, hey, can we check in, see what jobs you have? I want to stay front of mind for you. Otherwise, when it's hiring managers, just trying all the different routes of communication. If they've introduced you to anybody, like if you interviewed with them and someone else, touch base with the other person as well. There's no way to like safe sure that you're not going to be ghosted, but just trying to communicate in multiple different ways and setting up like a touch base point with recruiters is definitely helpful. As a recruiter, I can attest that sometimes people do fall through the cracks because we're moving so fast and we're talking to so many people a day that when I'm actively working with a candidate, I definitely would, I have done this with candidates before, do like a touch base every 2 weeks. And even if it's, I don't have anything for you, then that way I can at least tell them, like, I don't have anything for you. This is what I do have. I didn't really feel like it was a match. How's your job search going? And just to stay front of mind. Any other questions I can answer? Must be almost Friday. It's much quieter on this call. All right. Nice to virtually see you, Amy. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on subs. It's linked in my profile. Do you have any advice on how to approach people on LinkedIn? I posted my page. Oh, wait, hang on. Recruiters are companies I've applied to and have reached out. There we go. Recruiters are companies I've applied and have reached out to me. I would just continue to, especially if they've reached out to you on LinkedIn, keep following up with the way that they reached out to you. And then if you know anybody else in the organization, try and go back. There's only so much you can do if they're not responding. But if you reach out every week or every 2 weeks on the same communication that they've reached out to you, they're going to see it. They will eventually, hopefully, respond, especially if they have something open for you. Another way you can go about it is instead of just like saying like, hey, just checking in, you can say like, hey, did you end up filling the position? Any feedback? Just kind of asking more open-ended questions of like, is there anything that I could have done better? Do you have anything in the pipeline that you think I would be a good fit for? So sometimes people are afraid to tell people no. But I think if you're asking a question of just, is there anything I could have done better? Anything, that you have coming up that you see me as a fit for, and just kind of trying to keep the door open, are a good way to follow up. So you're not sending the same follow-up message every time. Should my resume headline be creative, aspirational, just the title of what I'm applying for? So for this question, it should be applicable to what you're applying for, because when we search on LinkedIn as a recruiter, that helps pull you up for the search. Headlines that I wouldn't recommend, and I've seen these before, is like unicorn of numbers for an accountant. And like, I'm not going to be searching for unicorns on on LinkedIn. So have it be something specific to what you're looking for. What I do for my own header on LinkedIn, because I want to be searchable to candidates and companies, is I use ChatGPT to come up with a headline for me that's applicable to what I want to come up for when people are searching. And then every 2 weeks, I have a note on my calendar to ask ChatGPT to update it, because as you update it every 2 weeks, you show up in different searches. So I would have it be applicable to what you're applying for, whether it's like different job titles and you just kind of separate them with a line. But I wouldn't get like too creative with it because you want to show up in a search. And then can you give me an example of what it should say for consultative sales versus operations manager? So for sales, I would put like the job title that you're targeting. And ChatGPT is going to be way better than me at coming up with different things that people might search for. You can also look at the jobs that you're applying for and see what's in there that people might be searching for. When I'm searching on LinkedIn, let me pull up. I don't know if I can share my screen here, but let me at least look at the search functions. So it'll hopefully give you an idea. I can search by job title, location, skills and assessment, keywords. So like if you have certifications that recruiters may be looking for, I would definitely have that up there. Spoken languages. Just to give you some ideas, you could put industry, and all these things are in your, you can update your profile to have these in your profile and not just in your header, in your headline, but it's good to have it in your headline too, because that's the first thing that everybody sees. Hopefully that answered your question, Richard. What do you look for on a LinkedIn page to help a candidate stand out? First is a picture. If you don't have a picture, I assume you're not active. If you are actively posting on LinkedIn, you show up higher in searches on the recruiter side of LinkedIn. So being active, I highly recommend videos over just posting articles, but I think any sort of action that you feel comfortable with is applicable because you show up as active on the recruiter side. The other thing is, I think just having titles that apply. You know how like some companies have job titles that like only the people within that company know what that means? Like, for example, when I worked at Target, I was a human resources executive team leader. Like nobody outside of Target knows what that means. So I updated that when I was job searching on my LinkedIn profile to say HR manager, because that's what I was doing. So your job titles should be what people are searching for that's applicable to your job. I've seen this with accountants too, where they have just like really strange titles. Have it be a pretty standard title. And put some details in there. Like if you have certain software experience, if you have, something that you're really proud of, like you increase sales from this to this, put those numbers and those metrics in there, because as I'm scrolling, I'm really looking for your experience when it comes to company and title. But I'm also looking for, like, if you have a certain metric, I wouldn't put too many things in there, but if you have like a metric that's really going to make you stand out, I would put that in there as well. I'm sorry, Richard. I thought you were talking about your LinkedIn header. For your resume, you don't really need a headline. So I recommend doing something very simple of like your name, your number, your email, and then get right into your experience. There doesn't have to be any creativity with it. What I think is the most important thing when it comes to your resume is that it's easy to read. So you don't need to do fancy formatting. I actually prefer when people just name, email, phone number, experience, and just list it out. Put the title, the company, the dates, and then the bullet points. You don't need like an objective nothing fancy, nothing super creative. It's kind of a boring document, which is why I think it's going to, end up going away. But you do need to show your experience on there. And then, like I said, to the last question, put some metrics on there that you're proud of and your software experience, but you don't need a headline or an objective anymore. Reach to HR directly when position is opened. Is that a turnoff? Some I had interviewed for an alternate position, so I had their contact. I don't think it's a turnoff, especially if they're the one reporting or recruiting for the position. Sometimes companies have their own internal recruiters, but if you already know them and already have their contact, definitely reach out to them and try and get your foot in the door, because that's going to put your name ahead of everybody else's that's just applying. I definitely would do that. And I would follow up too, not obsessively, but like maybe once a week, once every other week, just to stay front of mind. Resume question, not LinkedIn. The Work Daily template has languages. Do I delete that if I only speak English? I would delete that if you only speak English. Went to college in 2007, but never got a degree. Some business coursework. I would put your education, but then just leave off the degree and put some of the, I would put some of the coursework in there just so it shows that you do have some education in your background, but obviously don't put the degree. That's a good question, Richard. And I haven't seen the most recent Workaday template. For the headline, the 10 skills in 2 columns, for the positions I'm recruiting for in accounting and finance, I don't look at any of that. I look at the experience. I think 10 skills would be applicable. I wouldn't get too creative with it. To go back to like your original question, I don't think you need to be overly creative. I think it just needs to be more informational, if that helps. That answers it. Sorry for the confusion. Any other questions I can answer? To go back to also the resume, I think the most important thing when it comes to, are we able to upload a resume in here? I don't think there's a way to upload it. If you reach out to me on subs, I can take a look at it and give some pointers on what I'm seeing, and give you my feedback on it from my my point of view of where I'm recruiting for. But I think the most important thing when you're job searching is to be active on LinkedIn. It's like the way to network in 2025. So if you feel comfortable, do videos. I would highly recommend getting comfortable with videos because it makes you more personable. People feel like they know you. I post videos every day on LinkedIn, and I have people reach out to me. Multiple people reach out to me every single day. So it's just about being visible. It's about who knows you. And I think in the age of AI, we all want to connect with a human, right? So like if I can show that I'm a human on video, I seem more real to people. Do you look at comments or mostly just the LinkedIn profile? What do you mean by comments? Like the comments that you post on other people's profiles? When I'm recruiting for a position, I specifically look at the experience on the LinkedIn profile. But if you are active and actively commenting and posting on LinkedIn, you're going to show up higher in the search. So since you answered, no, I do not look at like the comments that you make. I don't usually see that, but I do see like the posts that you make. So if you have like industry related posts that you do or like videos that you post, I see that. The first thing that I see though is your work experience. And if you're active, you show up higher in the search as well. So having like a full profile filled out and then also being active gets you looked at sooner and more in depth. Got 3 minutes left. Any other questions I can respond to? Looks like someone new just joined. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the live Q&A. You can also ask anonymously. We've got about 3 minutes left. Oh, if you go to, it's in my Work It Daily profile, it's subs.com/Val Herron. You should be able to send it to me there, and I can give you some pointers and some feedback on what I'm seeing in the market. It may be different than what JT gives you, but we all have our own personal preference. And also, I think the most important thing is being active on LinkedIn, because that's how to network in 2025. But yes, if you go to subs.com/Val Herron, Richard, I can give you some pointers. I think I can also respond here, Richard. I'll drop it in the chat as well. There you go. All right. If there's no more questions, feel free to reach out to me on subs, the link that I just dropped below. I'm going to be scheduling more of these. I know JT mentioned about 2 a month. So keep a lookout. I will be back. I'll try to remember all of your names. If you have more questions, I'm excited to answer them. Otherwise, you can reach out to me on subs in the meantime. All right. Have a good Thursday.